Let's do this. The Cult of Hockey podcast by the faithful and for the faithful. I'm David Staples of the Edmonton Journal, and I'm here today with Bruce McCurdy. Hey, Bruce.
Hey, David, how are you doing today?
Today, yeah, I'm a little sore, Bruce. I was in a mini tournament in my vintage hockey league
Oh, yeah.
this morning. My teammate Bob Morrissey instructed me to say that our team won 2 games and only lost one. So I'm doing
Excellent.
that
You
right now.
played 3 games today?
3 25-minute games. It's right in a
right.
row, bang,
Okay.
bang, bang.
Ooh,
And it was a lot of fun. It's just,
all
Bruce, this
right.
is the most fantastic league I've ever been in my life. It's
Oh, good.
very well run. It's over 55 league, and everyone's having a
Mm-hmm.
great time. How are you doing?
Uh-huh. Yeah, no testosterone overflow when they get to 55 plus. There's still probably a few. Is there that
Far
go
fewer,
hard?
Bruce. Our testosterone levels drop, and you can actually see it on the ice. It's not, listen, hockey brings out the worst in Canadians. It's just no, it brings out our
Well,
best.
yeah,
It brings out our worst.
it
And
brings our extremes.
I've seen it
Yes.
for years now in minor
Yeah.
hockey and in men's hockey. And it's much better playing with older gentlemen. They
Mm-hmm.
are all just grateful to be playing hockey, and
Excellent.
there's generally a good spirit in the games.
To segue, it brought out the best and the worst, not in that order, of the Edmonton Oilers today. Between the second and the third period, it was like the entire team had been replaced at intermission. It needed to be. And
Well, Bruce, one of the sayings in hockey that we've always said, you can't turn it on and turn it off,
oh yeah,
except when you can. Except when you're the Edmonton Oilers and there's a huge gap in the talent. You're facing a team that's lost 9 in a row or whatever it is, and it's a struggling team. And yeah, the Oilers just turned it on and crushed Arizona in the third period. What do they get? 4 goals in the third period.
yes.
So three. It was ugly for the Arizona fans and the Arizona team. Maybe like if you listen to the experts, there's not going to be an Arizona team very much longer. Good riddance. They stole their team from Winnipeg. I've never liked them. And if they lose their team, I'm okay with that. Sorry, Arizona, hardcore Arizona fans, but that's how I feel.
Sounded like there was at least as many Oilers fans as Coyotes fans in the little Mullet Arena today.
Yeah.
So they had a pretty small building. Louis kept talking about being 10 feet away from the action, and he wasn't
Yeah.
standing between the benches at the penalty box, but he said it's a fast game, not just because we're so close to it, basically. Yeah.
Bruce, this is our two good things, two bad things, and two numbers podcast with one conundrum. We'll go with two good things each because it was kind of an exciting victory in the end, a 6-3 victory. I'll just give the grade A shots, which were 13-9 for Arizona in the game.
Wow.
And subset of 5 alarm shots. The most dangerous shots were 4-3 for the Oilers. So there wasn't a lot of action in this game. There wasn't a lot of really dangerous chances, but Arizona did get more of the chances than the Oilers. What's your first good thing,
What
Bruce?
were they in the second period, if you don't mind my asking?
1, 2, 6-2.
Yeah, okay. So they basically had half their 5 alarm shots in the middle frame, eh?
Or they're grade A shots, yeah.
Grade A's, yeah. Sorry,
Yeah.
yes. Right. Well,
What's your first good thing, Bruce?
yeah, I'm going to go with Ryan McLeod, who I thought had an absolutely terrific game for Edmonton today. At the end of the day, he had 1 assist, but +3, and he was instrumental in all 3 of the 3. But early in the sequence on 2 plays, where in each case this was the 2-1 goal in the first period, where it looked like Arizona had a free path out the left wing boards, and Fogle threw himself in the corner, and they chipped the puck past him, and McLeod just threw himself into it and got inside a Arizona guy. Took himself hard to the wall to get in the path of the puck, and then he basically battled for the puck along the sideboards for a good 5-7 seconds. Like they just couldn't get it past him. And eventually, the guy who did force it past him just got it as far as the blue line, and Desharnais whipped it over to the other point. Kulak fired it toward the net, and it got tipped in from directly in front by Matthias Janmark, or it bounced off Matthias Janmark. I'm not quite sure how it
I think it's hit his
proceeded.
body. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it was like his other goal this year that it hit him in the body and bounced into the net. Anyway, it was a cycle that only happened because Ryan McLeod refused to sort of just turn around and coast back out into the neutral zone, but he was hard on the battle, hard on the puck, and then on the uh, winning goal. This was the one where he took Draisaitl's great pass at the blue line, beat the defenseman and got hooked. I think they were calling it was delayed penalty based on McLeod's fine rush, and then again there was some good work on the boards
Yeah.
and again on that far top left of the screen, same boards, him and Fogel again, and they worked it out. And this time it was Ekholm who worked it over to. No, wait a minute. It was Bouchard who worked it over to Ekholm, and he shot, and Hyman tipped it in. It was almost the same play in terms of they stormed the right wing boards in the offensive zone, and the right defenseman was able to field the puck, shoot it over to the other side. That guy shot, and the guy in front tipped it in. In this case, Hyman's deflection was very deliberate and beautifully done.
Just wait, is
it
that
out of the air?
Isn't that Kane's goal? Just wait, I'm confused.
This is the. Oh, wait a minute. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, that was
Kane's goal. It was
goal
the 3-3 goal that was scored on the delay.
Correct.
And that was
Bouchard put it on over to Kane on a nice pass.
Right.
And then Kane's. Yeah.
Right. My bad. Yeah, it was. And then on the 5-3 again, it was. This was the one where McLeod jumped into the middle with the shot, and Kane got a little piece of it and tipped it in front.
Yeah.
McLeod came firing up the middle and let. I thought originally it was his goal, and in the end they gave it to Kane.
There was such a flurry of goals there, Bruce.
Yeah.
It's a little wonder you're getting them all mixed up.
I'm gonna have to watch them again. It was like bang, bang, bang. And
yeah. In 2 minutes there was 3 goals, so that was. Yeah. What did he must have taken his Ryan Smith pills today, or mixed them with his JP Parise pills, because he was really digging in and really battling hard in a way that it's fantastic to see, and it blends in with my good thing. I think last podcast I mentioned that I'd like to see them go back to McLeod with Draisaitl, and I was wondering why they moved away from it. I'm still curious about that, but anyway, they did go back to it at the start of the third period. It was part of a major shift in the lines. He went back to the McDavid RNH Hyman line, and then he had Draisaitl with Kane and McLeod, and it just seems like that's a good combination for some reason. I'm not exactly sure why. I think it has to do with McLeod's speed. He's as fast a player on the ice as there is, not named Connor McDavid. He's really fast. He's even faster. Fogel's not a slow player, but McLeod's even faster. And I think he's skilled enough with the puck. When he gets the puck, he's not looking to dominate with the puck, but he has those moments with the puck where he gets it and he gets his feet moving and he gets space, and then he's able to give it to Kane or Draisaitl. So, which is always a really good play, because both those guys know what to do when they have the puck, especially Leon Draisaitl. So that might be why the line works. I mean, Kane loves playing with Draisaitl, I think, too. So there's that. So there's that bit of chemistry that you have going, and Kane's always around the net. He's always shooting. So it's a good complementary to McLeod, who's not around the net and is rarely shooting, if we're honest. So, you have a very fast, big perimeter player. I think Nugent Hopkins actually would probably work pretty well in a similar kind of way with this group. But McLeod's probably better because he's just that much faster than Nuge, and he's got that much more wingspan for popping pucks. So I really like that line being reunited. I think they should stick with it, Bruce. I'm not convinced of McLeod as a third line center. I think that's where they, this isn't the most popular opinion, but I do think that's where they should make the trade, is for, if, the first trade that they make, the most important trade they make, they need another strong defensive center in this group, and put McLeod on the wing.
Well, they put him on the wing tonight, and they left Nuge on the wing, so that left a little bit, I think, weakness in the bottom six at center. The
I didn't
way
mind
they wound
Holloway
up shuffling it, but they held their own, and for sure something needed to be switched up after the second period. In fact, pretty much everything needed to be switched up after the second period. At least the forwards, they were skating in mud and getting beaten to pucks left and right by speedier Arizona guys playing on 19 hours rest and a travel in between, and I did not enjoy that. Anyway,
more determined Arizona players, far hungrier.
Yeah, well, they were
Arizona
for
players.
40 minutes. Yeah,
They were.
Anyway, it was the move paid off. I'm not sure how much time that McLeod has played wing with Draisaitl and Kane. It seems to me when he moved up before, it was him and Fogle.
You're right.
And then when Kane got moved back there, it was Kane and Fogle playing with Draisaitl, and McLeod went back to 3C, because I think they wanted him to play 3C, was kind of what precipitated the move, because they were having trouble down at the bottom of the lineup. And so I'm not sure if they obviously must have tried it, but this was the first game I sort of remember those three. Like Draisaitl's played with all those guys quite a bit, but that was first time I remember him quite like this, and it sure worked.
Yeah. I would like to see Holloway give him a run of 5 games at center, third line center, to see how he does, because I like him at center. I think he seems to command the play more when he's at center than when he's on the wing. He's a bit more physical than McLeod, and he might read the play a little bit better at center than he does on the wing. I'm not saying he reads it better than McLeod, but he himself reads it better at center than on the wing. I think it's where he's most comfortable. So I wouldn't mind seeing Holloway try it at center, see if that works. I mean, they do have this short amount of time before the trade deadline now.
Right. It's isn't it?
It is it's getting down to a couple weeks now.
2.5 weeks.
Yeah. So anyway, I like those changes. What is your second good thing, Bruce?
Well, I am going to go with Evander Kane, and who scored the 3-3 and then the 5-3 goals in the third period, and his line with Nugent Hopkins and Hyman, I thought they struggled in the first 2 periods. And honestly, I thought Kane made the 2 best defensive plays of that line, when twice after a long and unsuccessful shift in their own end, he was able to corral a puck inside his own end and just lob it, just calmly get under it and dump it down the ice and get off. And it was the right play, and he didn't, just turn it over inside the blue line, as happens. But those weren't entirely positive shifts before that. But in the third period on the new line, he was very noticeable. He wound up leading the team in shots with 3, hits with 2. At least among forwards, he led the group. But the great shot that he let go from outside that tied it, and that was a wicked drive. And then the 5-3 where he went into, the right battled in the net front and got a piece of the puck and tipped it in. The 3 deflections Edmonton scored on today. And
yeah,
I guess you could call them Californians, but they were
sure. The Hyman's goal certainly was. That was a classic.
Pavelski, that was a Joe Pavelski special.
If Hyman can play that Pavelski game, and he is, I mean, that's you can keep playing that game until, like, how old's Joe Pavelski? 90, and he's still tipping in shots. He's
still doing it. Yeah, he sure is. And I like Kane's engagement in this game, even as his line wasn't particularly clicking. I didn't see that as being necessarily his problem. In fact, I thought Hyman and Nugent Hopkins were struggling a lot in the first two
Yeah, I don't like
periods.
that line.
And Hyman came out of his shell a bit in the third period as well and notched the game-winning goal. So, but it was, uh, a game where you needed a game breaker, and today that was arguably Evander Kane.
So Kane now has 18 even strength goals, I believe.
Wow.
And that's second highest on the team after Zach Hyman. So, he's ahead of both McDavid and Draisaitl when it comes to even strength goals, which is saying something. I mean, these are two of the best players in the NHL.
Yeah.
And, he's got Evander Kane has his critics. There's lots of people who are not big Evander Kane fans, but man, he can still shoot that puck, and he's still an intimidating hockey player. And I think he's going to, again, I keep saying this, I think he's going to help the Oilers win in the playoffs. He needs to be
goals now, eh?
Yeah, he needs to be with the right teammates. He needs to. Another reason McLeod might work if you and I think you're right, Bruce. I think it was Fogle, McLeod, and Draisaitl. It was them that had that success earlier. It wasn't Kane. But I think why McLeod might work with Kane and Draisaitl is in the playoffs. I think what we're going to see is the best defensive hockey we've ever seen from Leon Draisaitl. And it's going to be solid. But McLeod I think McLeod's a really good defensive hockey player. He's very conscientious, and I think he'll make up for some of Kane's shortcomings. Evander Kane isn't a super conscientious defensive hockey player. It's not his forte. He's great hitting, battling, intimidating, shooting the puck, making skill plays, and he's good enough at those things that it makes up for, generally speaking, makes up for some of his defensive lapses. But with McLeod out there, I think that you could probably get away with that line. I think that line will do okay and create more than it gives up, even in a playoff situation against good teams. So I just think it's a possibility. Like, there is talk that there might not be. I just was listening to Frank Saravalli on Oilers Now this morning, and he says the market for top six wingers isn't huge. There's not a lot of them that are going to be available. You might not be able to get that player. You might have to find it within your roster.
Mm-hmm.
And if that could be McLeod. That could be the guy.
Yeah, well, he certainly, he brings a couple of things to that line that are helpful. One of it's just sort of raw speed, but also his defensive chops. Like, he skates just as hard going back towards his own end as he does up the ice, and he's quite responsible defensively. Like, he's been on, like, the other team score about 1.5 goals for every 60 minutes he's been on the ice this year, which is very good. And he's, an outscoring player. Like, he's got an over 60% goal share at this point, and a lot of that's playing third line. And when he has moved up the lineup and played with Draisaitl, he's been successful. So let's see a little bit more. And it might be cheaper or easier to find a 3C type or a bottom 6C than a high-end winger who's going to cost the sun, moon, and stars, apparently,
or Philip Broberg,
Yeah.
Well, they apparently the Oilers aren't keen on moving him, but anyway,
my son, Philip Broberg. Won't be trading him.
My second good thing is Leon Draisaitl. He had made some great plays this game, and he went in there. The first goal was a power play goal, just a nice movement of the puck, and Leon gets a pass from Connor McDavid, and Leon took it right in and picked his spot. And that ability to score cannot be underestimated, and he can really do it. He just has fantastic hands, and that was evident on that play.
Poor Matt Villata making his first NHL start, and I think that was the second shot he faced. Leon, eyeball to eyeball. Welcome to the NHL, son. Top corner.
Top shelf where grandma keeps the cookies. All right. Then he made another really nice pass. It was a very subtle pass at the blue line to send in Ryan McLeod early in the third period, and McLeod got tripped up, and that's what led to the Kane's goal early in the third period. And what is the third pass? Oh yeah, he just made two fantastic moves. Both he and McDavid have this great move where they're moving up towards the blue line with the kind of the puck against the boards, and then they spin back on their backhand, and it's an unbelievably difficult move to make, and for any hockey player, even at the NHL level, few players can make that move and shake the defender, but Connor does it like nobody else. He breaks their ankles, he breaks their knees off. Leon breaks their ankles though, and he did there. He shook the guy, and then he twisted back, I think, and made the pass into the high slot for McLeod, who got the outside shot. And Kane ticked it in. But again, just unbelievable, beautiful puck control and passing from Leon Draisaitl. He got an assist on the empty net goal as well, making a nice little short pass.
Yeah, I liked how he used the space that was available to him. Yeah. On that one where he went, he sort of picked his holes as he moved up the wall, and then when the other team started to panic and try and double team him, that's when he found McLeod open, and boom.
It's such a key to hockey, like at the NHL level. There's so little space on the ice. Yeah. There's so little, and it's getting less space, right? The players are getting bigger, they're getting faster, they're getting more skilled. Their defenders are better trained, they're more disciplined. So there's just very little space. And what the really good players do is just find that little pocket of space. And it's often by backing off the play or cutbacks. It's with cutbacks. It's not always going hard to the net. Sometimes that works, but often it's cutting back or moving sideways. And Leon is a master at that with his puck skills and his big frame.
The great one was the grandmaster of that.
Wayne was
finding, yes,
he was, wasn't he? Yeah, he really was.
Finding little slivers, doing those cutbacks, pulling defenders toward him and slipping the pucks past him and right on the tape of some other guy, typically Curry, burning in on net.
Such a
did it over
smart hockey player. There are lots of really smart players now. And the tricks that Wayne did, they've all the great players now all do those tricks, and plus
they try and do them.
They do them. Not all of them, but yeah, it's a different league. It's a little bit more wide open then. It's fair to say.
Goalies are bigger.
Now they are for sure. And how many 6'5", 6'7" defensemen in the NHL when Wayne was playing? There was some. Yep. But there's like one on every team now.
Shell Samuelson, the skating tripod. He was 6'8".
Bad things.
Bad things. Yeah. I didn't see until later in the game, and he was okay in the end, I suppose. But I thought Stu Skinner was really fighting it today.
Yeah.
And he just didn't seem to be zoned in, and he got beat early by that Nick Bjugstad rocket, one of two Nick Bjugstad rockets. This is not a typo. That beat him high. And on both of them, frankly, I thought he left his feet too early and he dropped, and the puck came up and over his shoulder. First one dinged him right in sort of the side of the ear on the way in. That's a goalie's nightmare. You hear the puck hit the mask. I mean, that's bad enough, but then it bounces into the net. And this wasn't a flip shot like McDavid does from the side that tries to bank it in. This was a bullet from medium distance. And then the middle goal of the three was the power play goal, and it was a good passing play. They went from the wing to the middle and right back to the same wing again. And there was a guy right in Stu's eyes, and he didn't see it. And he didn't even know where the puck was, I'm pretty sure.
No, he lost it.
And his left glove, which should kind of be blocking where the left glove goes, he pushed out in front to try and push the guy out of his way. Well, guess where the shot went just as he was doing that? Up. So he was beaten high 3 different times. and he wasn't really in, I didn't think, great position on any of the three goals. And it was, it was a little bit nervous time at are they going to get it together? And the third they did. And Stu, he made 2 or 3 really nice saves with his pads on low shots where they were tried to pick the corner and he kicked them out. And he didn't stink in this game, but he didn't have a great game. And the goals, I'll just say, just from the goalie's perspective, I don't think he's probably very happy with those goals. And then I'll let you dig a little
Yeah.
deeper into one of those goals in terms of what the other guys didn't do.
The third goal, I thought, the go-ahead goal in the second period from Arizona, Bruce, I did think that Stu, he had a moment where he stunk. And I just think if you look at the replay of Bjugstad coming down the wing on this play, and it's not the only mistake, I'll get into the other ones in a second, but Skinner's leg is on the outside of the post, and he's leaving the whole rest of the net to shoot at. He lost his net, essentially.
Yeah.
Instead of being a little bit more centered, and Bjugstad just picked the side that was open. So I just think that was it was an outside shot. This is usually a shot from that spot in the NHL is about, I'm going to say it's a 10% shot, maybe 15%. It's between 10 and 15, depending on the shooter. It is not a grade A shot. It's a shot that the goalie should have almost every, 9.5 out of 10 times, 9 out of 10 times.
Yeah, it was a good shot. But
it was a good shot.
You expect the goalie to have it. It's a B shot to me.
But he was out of position on it. Just look at his outside skate. It's on the outside of the post, I'm pretty sure. And it's like, what? Well, why? Yeah. I don't understand that. But there was lots of bad things. There were so many bad things. So many bad things. So, yeah, it's the fourth line that's out there. Gagner, Ryan, and I'm not sure who was on the fourth line all the way at that point. Yeah, and they enter the zone at about the 10-minute mark, and they're there. They're there for the next 45 seconds, absolutely buzzing the Oilers' net. They get 5 shots at net, and they're beating the Oilers to every single puck. Now, this is going to happen now and then when you play. They're playing a zone in their own. They're playing a zone under Knobloch, and it's a little bit more passive in terms of attacking the puck carrier. So I think what we're seeing now is that we've seen this in recent games where they've been buzzing the Oilers, and obviously in a zone you can still attack the puck carrier with the puck. It's still 5-on-5, but there's a bit more hesitancy, and they're just getting on the Oilers. They're getting to loose pucks before the Oilers are getting there, and this just happened again and again and again. So finally, I think it's Bouchard who lofts it out down, and the Arizona defenseman goes to his end and retrieves the puck. He's got full possession of the puck, and 2 Oilers, Gagner and Derek Ryan, Sam Gagner and Derek Ryan, 2 smart veteran hockey players. Even though there's full possession of the puck, and it's not an ideal time to change when that happens, they decide to get off. And I actually think it was probably the right decision because they were just gassed. They didn't have anything more. You're useless. You're just as good as useless if you don't have anything more. So get off the ice. Nonetheless, it leads to a dangerous rush. If they weren't, if they hadn't been so gassed because they had been outplayed so badly in their own zone, they might have been able to stay on the ice and make a play. They weren't. They got off, and they contributed to this goal against. But the major culprit, other than Skinner, was Mattias Ekholm, who, for the second time, on the first Bjugstad goal, he did the same thing. He moved up in the neutral zone to make a pinch. Bjugstad, he missed it. He lost the battle. Bjugstad goes in and scores. Same thing here. Ekholm's wandering up into the middle of the ice, and we've seen this a number of times in recent games. He's been making some bad decisions in terms of his neutral zone pinching and forcing of the play. When a defenseman's really on his game, he's making this play all the time. He's forcing it. He's stopping them there. It's you want to see your defenseman forcing things in the neutral zone, but he when it doesn't work, can lead to 2-on-1s. And here we go again. Bjugstad charging in because Mattias Ekholm's out of the play, and we've already talked about Skinner on the play. So it was a horrendous sequence of pain for the Edmonton Oilers and their fans, and it ended up with Arizona taking the lead momentarily.
Yeah, well, for Ekholm, it was a shift of minute 45, and for Holloway, 141, for Gagner, 131, for Ryan, 122. So they had joined the play on the fly, but they all went off at the same time, and they, those
Holloway stayed out.
guys.
Holloway
Those
did
guys
stay.
aren't exactly well. The minuses went to the McDavid Draisaitl line, who really had no
Oh,
chance.
I thought Holloway
But
was out there.
Holloway was supposedly the guy who went off first, just before the other two guys. And I watched Ryan and Gagner going off the ice and thinking, well, those guys are slow at the best of times, and now they're on 1% lactic acid, or is it 99% lactic acid
Yeah,
and
that's it.
1% energy? Anyway, what they were trying to get off to the bench, and that second period change, it is brutal.
Yeah.
And the Oilers have all kinds of trouble with it. And it's so far to get to the bench. And then the guy coming on, is coming, if the puck's in the neutral zone, you're behind it if you're coming off of the far bench. And much more difficult. So it was sort of a semi-odd man rush. And because Ekholm got beat. And then, again, just no save made. The Oilers needed one there. And seemed like when they finally got the puck out, they were out of trouble, but just Arizona just wheeled right back in.
They certainly did. What is your number, Bruce?
Yeah, well, it has to do with third periods, second periods, and this is just from their last 5 games. Oilers
Outscoring?
Yeah. Well, it'll actually be from the last 6 games, because I just realized this thing is not updated unless they've changed it in the last few seconds, and they haven't. Okay, so goals for in the first period, 6. This is in the last 6 games, 6-4 and 6 against. In the second period, 4-4 and 14 against. 4 goals for, 14 against in the second period. And then in the third period, 13-4, 5 against. So it's like the Oilers in the second period and the Oilers in the third period. It's like they send down their AHL team between periods and call in their NHL replacements to finish up. It's like they're 2 completely different hockey clubs, and it's not just today's game. It happens a lot.
Okay, so my question is this just random, or like, because we tend to think, okay, they're outscoring them in the third period. This is when they decide, okay, we'll put our pedal to the metal. We'll make up for our horrible play in the second period, and we'll go for it. So I tend to think that's not random. That's the Oilers actually playing to their potential. But in the second period, I just wonder, like, maybe I'm giving them the benefit of the doubt, but I just think they're clearly getting outplayed.
Yes.
In the last 5 games, the grade A shots in the second period are 39 for the opposition, 22 for the Oilers. They're getting outplayed in the second period. But what's going on, do you think? Like, what do you think is like? Because it's so weird to like. Usually we complain, oh, they got outplayed in the first, or they couldn't hold a lead in the third. I can't remember, even in the decade of darkness, us going on, oh, in the second period, the Oilers just keep getting stomped. It's such a strange thing, Bruce.
Well,
any theories on why?
They're an outscoring team, and then yet in the second period, it's 53-4, 55 against. This is on the whole season now.
Okay.
And in the third, 67-46 plus 21. And they were minus team in the second period. And then if you go just since the start of their winning streak on December 21st.
Yeah.
And in all that time, they are just totally dominant in the third period to the tune of 43-4, 14 against. 43-4, 14 against. And 3-0 in overtime on top of that.
It's conditioning, boys. It's conditioning, Bruce. Our boys are conditioned. They're
conditioned to make it as far as the near bench at the end of their shift. But if it's the far bench, I mean, I do think that far, it's a thing for every team. But it seems to me the Oilers have a lot of trouble with it, making their shifts shorter. I'd like to see a serious study of shift length. I'm sure it's been done by period, and the second period would be longer than the others
Yeah.
for that reason.
Yeah.
Just can't get off or whatever. And that the play you described was a classic example. Even as they did get off, they didn't get off safely and they got burned.
Yeah. So I don't have any idea why the Oilers are getting whipped in the second period. Like I can't think of one.
It
So
goes back years.
you think so?
I used to sit in the defensive corner in the first and third period, so the Oilers would attack our end in the second period, and I used to often bitterly complain they'd play their worst period in the second. The puck would be at the far end for all three periods.
There you go. There you go. But it's like you say, though,
There
the
may
other
have
team
been
has a
some
long
truth in it.
change too. The other team has
Yeah,
a
oh
long
yeah,
change.
oh of course.
Okay.
That long change is a huge challenge, and league-wide, there's more goals in the second period than the first or the third.
Okay.
And the third, the only reason it's close, in my recollection of studying it some time ago now, was that, of course, almost basically all of the empty net goals happened in the third period to inflate the totals. But the second period, where real goals against goalies, there's more in the second than any other. So.
Okay. Yeah, makes sense, right? Long change.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's hard, and it's also the short change. This is the unappreciated part of it. And I learned
Yes.
this by studying and restudying, carefully studying The Shift, starring Jason Strudwick and Taylor Chorney, when they played 3 minutes and 45 seconds of continuous action against all 18 members of the Detroit Red Wings, who kept making the short change coming pouring over the boards from just outside the Oilers' blue line. And they kept changing, and they had fresh troops on. They literally cycled through all four lines, all three defense pairs during the Strudney and Chorwick, as we used to call them, shift. And I studied that shift, and the more I watched it, the more I realized there's a reason Detroit's able to keep this pressure on, because not only do they have fresh troops, they're just making a beeline right to the puck because they're coming from the near blue line. And for Strudwick and Charney, the bench might as well have been 1,000 miles away. They just were never going to get
Poor
to
guys.
it.
Poor guys.
Yeah, it's fine. And they never scored, I'll say that, but it was a true. It's like an instructional video. And like I say, it's not just for what the defensive team was unable to do, which is get the puck deep ever. I still shake my head at Patrick O'Sullivan losing it at the far blue line, so they came pouring back again. But it was more what Detroit was doing to keep the cycle going, and they kept making these changes while the puck was cycling and pouring new. And because the bench was so close, the change was rapid, and so they were able to keep five guys in the zone and the pressure on.
It's on YouTube, Bruce.
Yes, it is. I've watched it many times.
I've just called it up. I was wondering if it was on YouTube.
Oh yeah.
So there you go.
Does it say The Shift at the top of it?
It says Taylor Charney and Jason Strudwick 3 minute. I don't have it.
45 seconds.
Yeah.
3 minutes, 45 seconds. I can tell you that for a fact.
So Bruce, I'm going to do something I've never done before on the Cult of Hockey podcast. My number is from another game, because I was looking at the scores. I was looking at the scores, and I'm looking, okay, like 4-0 and 3-2 and whatever, 5-3 and blah blah blah. And then I saw 10-7, and I thought, it's suddenly football. I just I couldn't process what I was seeing. I thought, that's the shots. Am I looking at shots totals here?
They're playing football today.
What am I looking at? I couldn't believe it. I can't remember the last time I've seen a score like this. 10-7, the Wild beat the Vancouver Canucks. So not only is the score remarkable, it was fantastic to see 10 goals scored against the Vancouver Canucks. And I don't even yet hate this Vancouver Canucks team too much. Haven't seen them enough to really dislike them. I'm sure that'll come if we see them in the playoffs. But I sure like seeing them give up 10 goals. That was very pleasing, because I think they've been one of the best defensive teams in the NHL. They've got one of the best goalies in Thatcher Demko.
But yeah, I'm trying to see who was in net for them today.
10 goals against. Kirill Kaprizov had 6 points, and Joel Eriksson Ek had 6 points as well.
Uh-huh.
So Matt Boldy, 4 points.
I got Eriksson Ek in my draft, so I checked that summary right away and was pleased.
Yeah, you must have been. You must have been shocked.
I only had one player in the game. I thought 10-7. Uh-oh. And then Much
JT Miller had
relieved.
a hat trick for Vancouver.
That's one Canuck I do not like, JT
JT
Miller.
Miller?
He's a good player. I just don't like him.
Yeah, I don't really like any of the Canucks. So. All right. That's my number, Bruce.
7 in the third, David.
Is that right?
It was 5-3 for Vancouver after the second until Minnesota outscored Vancouver 7-2 in the third on the shots that were 10-8. Minnesota shot 70% in the third period.
Well, the Excel Center in Minnesota must have been rocking in that third period. They
2
must have
empty
just
net
been
goals.
loving that. Oh, that's good.
There was a game, Edmonton at Vancouver, years and years ago, probably 83, and Vancouver led Edmonton 6-2 late in the second, 7-3 late in the second, and I think Oilers got one at the end of the second, and then they poured in 6 more in the third period, and they won by the exact same score, 10-7.
Okay, here's something even more interesting, Bruce. They scored 10 goals on 27 shots. Wow.
Yeah.
That'll hurt your save percentage. Have we figured out who was in net? Let me see here.
Game summary will tell us. It was Casey DeSmith.
Poor Casey.
And being the backup, he did not get the mercy pull at any point, because when the backup plays, it's kind of the starters' day off, and
they need that
the day off. Whereas if the starter's having a rough ride or the team is stinking it up, they'll pull the starter, and the poor backup will have to clean up that game as well. But yeah, it was DeSmith's game to lose today, and that's what he did with it.
He did that.
I think you'd win with 7 goals of support and 27 shots against, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
Just saying.
Our conundrum tonight, Bruce, is Sam Gagner. I thought he had a really, earlier in this year, I've been raving about him, saying I think this is some of the best hockey I've seen him play. He's just such a smart player. He's playing strong two-way hockey. Then he got hurt. And since he's come back, and tonight, exemplifying this, he's a step behind the game. He's looking like he's looking like he's 34, and he's looking like he's not not completely healthy. Yeah. Maybe he is, maybe he isn't. I don't know. And Derek Ryan, I thought Derek Ryan also was not looking great tonight, but we've had problems with Matthias Janmark. Connor Brown finally got second time this year, I think, sent to the press box. And so this is why we hear, Oilers insiders say the Oilers need 2 players, I think, 2 forwards. And so I'm thinking, I don't think you can count unless Sam Gagner can turn things around. You're not going to be able to count on him in the playoffs. Maybe he can amp it up for one game, but he does seem like he's lagging quite a bit. And I'm a little worried. I'm not worried about Connor Brown. I heard Coach Knobloch on the radio saying he's been playing well. He's going to be a big part of our team. I think Connor Brown had a rough game, but I think he actually has been playing okay on defense. And maybe they might even get some scoring. I'm a little less confident about that, but I am confident about his defensive play. Janmark's always been a good defensive player. Yep. Derek Ryan's always been pretty good. So those, if they have to play 2 of those 3 guys, but I do think they're going to have to bring in 1 or 2 bottom line players. There's just no doubt about it.
Gagner made 1 good pass in the third period from a backhand sauce pass for a one-timer from, I think, Janmark in the slot.
That was a nice play.
And otherwise, I thought he really stood out, not in a good way, in defensive zone coverage. He was sort of the cat chasing the laser pointer in sense of the play was always ahead of him, and he always seemed to be in the wrong place, not really covering the point man, not really covering the point man's options, and sort of just slow getting to the place he needed to be. And that shift just before that Bukestad goal was rewatched that shift, and Gagner was covering the near side board, so I was really noticing him, and he was just it seemed like out of his element in that specific moment. And
such a great story when he came back to the team this year.
Yeah,
and it was so surprising. He just looked like he was ageless, like he might even be able to play another year. But so players up and downs. I don't want to make. Maybe he'll bounce back in the next little while and show that he's. But I think that he hasn't. Do you agree with me that he hasn't been the same player since the injury? That since he's come back, he just has not looked sharp at all. Maybe they should send him to the minors to get some more ice time and try to get him back into shape for the playoffs.
Yeah, well, he played 9 minutes and 12 seconds today, and this was after playing the least amount of any Oiler on Saturday, six and change, I think that was. And he got against New Jersey. That happened just before Christmas. The first game of the winning streak, he got 2 assists in that game, and then he took a stick in the head in the third period. And that first of all, there was talk was dental work and stuff, but then he missed a bunch of games, and the word was he had concussion symptoms. Mm-hmm. Which I think means concussion. Same way shot mentality means shot.
Shooting.
Don't need the second word. I think he probably was concussed, and he's just sort of he's been a lot of 13th forward, and he's spotted in and out. He did get that one like ultra fluke quintuple deflection game winner at Calgary.
Yeah.
But that was more good luck than great play. And these last 2 games, he just looks a step behind. Maybe it's because he hasn't played enough and needs to get more reps. But he's not at the top of his game right now, and he's not alone in that department. But when you're old and slow to begin with, it really stands out.
Indeed. Alrighty, I was just thinking that you could be talking about me and my vintage hockey league.
Well, you can be old and slow and still be effective. I mean, Corey Perry his lack of speed showed up on one of the goals, but he didn't waste any time going after Jack McBain when McBain pushed Dylan Holloway into Stuart Skinner after the whistle. And he had big Corey Perry in his face instantly, and they wound up just getting, a small tussle and offsetting minors. But I just like there was an Oiler sort of, you don't fool around with any part of our blue paint or our goalie without having to answer for it. And of course, this is Corey Perry, who spends the rest of his time messing around in the other team's blue paint with their goalie. So it's kind of fun to watch.
Well, Corey Perry, he can't complain about the opportunities he's getting at Edmonton so far. Like, he's been on the top line, he's been on the second and third lines. Like, he's holding his own in those roles. So, and he looks like he might be able to help the team in those roles. So, well, Bruce, you got the game grades to do tonight, so let's leave her there. And thanks for talking tonight.
Thanks for listening, everyone.
And in the meantime, and in between times, this has been another edition of the Cult of Hockey podcast.